Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, continuing our look at All's Lost by Lust by William Rowley. And yes, we're going from midway through Act 3, Scene 2. And it's been a bumpy ride so far, I think it's fair to say. This is one for quite a lot of unpacking as we go along. It is full of themes of sexual violence, very questionable depictions of race, racialized language abounds, and lots of other problems that I'm sure we will have. So just be warned, that's what you're getting. And yes, we had a lot of problems last time. We'll see whether maybe it'll all end happily and we'll all find that this goes really well. But we shall see. Anyway, reading the text with us today, reading Dionisia and Roderick is...
Hello, I'm muted. Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm coming to you from the Northwestern United States. And in case you're curious, my t-shirt says, I am silently correcting your grammar, which I am.
Reading Margaretta today is...
Rachael in Canada.
Reading Antonio and Servant today is...
Mark in the Midwest United States.
Reading Fydella and Jacinta is...
Irene, and I'm on a Greek island.
Oh.
Reading Lazarello today is...
Sarah in London.
Reading Jaques and Muly Mumen is...
Rachael, actor on the East Coast.
And reading Julianus and Lothario is...
Aaron, coming to you from the Pacific Northwest of the United States.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions, and I may be reading Piamentelli. If I can't find somebody else I can hand it to during the course of this reading. All parts have been assigned randomly. Nobody here is necessarily representing the parts that they will be reading, because, say, we're here just to kick the tires of this play rather than represent it per se. So, Act 3, Scene 3, without further ado, enter Margaretta and Fydella the Moor.
Oh, that some striking air had blasted me before this poison entered at mine ears. Married?
Madam, sweet madam.
Madam, prithee mock me not, nor guard my folly with such a linsey-woolsey ornament. Madam is the mad dame, and thence mad woman. Define it so, and I will borrow still that little of my store. A coat of tissue, if a fool wears it, is but a fool's coat. Such are my trappings. Oh, for that time that's gone, equality, oh sweet equality, born under Libra, thou hast both right hands, without advantage or priority. Base ones made big by beauty are but slaves. Their lords ne'er truly bed but in their graves. A dangerous conceit. Call my brother, Fydella.
Then let me counsel you. Know he's open, plain and rustical, and altered from his first condition. Whatever you propose is, your purpose is, let it not appear to him.
Prithee, be gone and call him.
Exit Fydella.
Am I despised so soon? Wedlock unjust, unequal nuptials are not love, but lust. Come back past time, oh, 'tis a fruitless call. I may repent, but find no help at all. Now I forestall thee, heaven, ere I begin. Forgive me, I must act some a heinous sin. I must now be changed.
Enter Clown, Jaques, and Fydella potentially.
Lady sister, did your madam ship send for my worship?
I did send for you, brother.
You may entreat me.
I hope so. I have a letter to my lord, brother, containing so much love and secrecy as I would trust none willingly but yourself for the delivery.
A letter, sister? I would not have you to take me for a carrier or a porter to carry words or letters more than it pleases me, yet in the way of a nuntius, partly ambassador or so, I will travel for your sake.
Look you, this is all, brother.
Gives him a letter.
Is this all, sister?
Unless you'll add another. Commends by word of mouth.
By word of mouth? 'Twas not well spoken, sister.
Why, brother?
Why, what words are there but words of the mouth? Except it be words of the tail, which would sound but ill in my lord brother's cares. For words behind a man's back are but wind, you know that.
But be most careful in this delivery, I entreat you, brother. You know our wedding is only known to us, a thing concealed from wide-mouthed rumor. Then should you find him in company with nobles of his own rank.
Tush, I can smell the rankest of them all.
Say among ladies you find him sporting, dancing, kissing, or any such like wantonness. Take heed your rude approach does not move him to any distaste.
Oh, mine own sister, my nose is a little more akin to you now than ever it was. You would have me be an informer of unlawful games as tic-tac, whipper ginny in and in?
No, trust me, brother, only to instruct you I speak. For the least disparagement should chance to him, his pleasure forbidding it, would be a death to me.
Well, sister, here's my hand and my heart, and is somewhere here about me too, but I'd be loath to bring him forth to witness, but I will be very careful.
You undo me else, brother.
Ha! Do you think me for a fool or your brother, sister?
Do not think, but at your return I shall be very thankful.
As for that, it is sufficient your ladyship is my sister. Oh, ye little amiable rogue, you. A good face is a good dowry, I see sometimes. When we two tumbled both in a belly together, little did our mother think which should have been the madam. I might have been cut the other way, if it had pleased the sisters three, if the midwife had but known my mind when I was born, I had been 2 stone lighter. But much good do thee with thy good fortunes. Farewell, honorable flesh and blood. I will deliver to my noble brother, pretty trim lady. I think we are eyed alike. Fare thee well. I cannot choose but see thee as long as I look upon thee.
Exit Jaques.
Effect thy own content, paper and ink, and then thou bringest the work into my hands. Fydella?
Enter Fydella.
Madam,
Thou lovest me, Fydella.
do you make a question on it, lady?
No, I rather speak it as acknowledgement. Suppose I went in the right noble way to meet my foe in the field. Wouldst be my second?
To my second life, madam.
I do intend no such virago's part, but in shape a danger to thee far more worse. But when 'tis done, the spacious world shall have to understand, spite of the low condition of my birth, high spirits may be lodged in humble earth.
And they exit. So we're sort of keying our brains back into this play after a little break from last time. Once again, we have the question of Jaques being potentially the author's self-written part for himself. Once again, I'm going, I can sort of see what the patter is doing, but in the absence of the actual clown doing it, it's quite impenetrable, a lot of that, especially as all of this is doing is really, here is a letter, take the letter, please. And then we have all of this clown business doing stuff. And I don't know, is everyone else sort of going, get on with it, Jaques, just take the letter? Thoughts in the room, Lynn?
I mean, particularly given Margaretta's regrettable situation and the sort of emotional tone there. Yeah, even if I could follow all the jokes, I just don't think Jaques is funny at this juncture. It just seems like in terrible taste to have him like making jokes about puns on rank and
Yeah. In the sense that she's got, her husband is basically disappeared and potentially not coming back, and he's just doing
I don't think Jaques knows that. He doesn't know what's going on, but but still, it's
So
just,
it could be an interesting effect in that sense. I mean, it's the question of how funny the audience are. The audience supposed to be rolling in the aisles and enjoying what he's doing, which is what I think is going on here. Because I think, you know, if the actor's going to write himself a clown part, he's aiming to get jokes. But these tonal shifts that we have in this play, they're quite extreme sometimes.
Is he supposed to be coming off as like overly pedantic and boring?
I think he's definitely, yes. That's the idea. That's the joke. Hopefully, you know, he's not necessarily. He's not supposed to be boring the audience, but he is supposed to be overly doing.
But he's creating that tension where it's like, here, take this letter. It's like, oh, the letter, blah 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 blah. It's like, yes, take it, please. Like he's supposed to be creating that sense of like, get on with yourself. It seems like.
Yeah. I say it's the problem we had with similarly with the earlier time when he appeared in the play is that his comic business is very tied in with its own time, that it's actually quite hard to get what his jokes are. This is not an unusual problem for clowns of the period. And yeah, so only about 10% of his lines are necessarily landing in the way that they would have done then. Okay, well, I think we've got our eye in. Get an idea what's going on. So let's go into Act 3, Scene 3. Enter Dionisia and Margaretta's husband, Antonio.
sad still.
I am as I was ever, lady, full of retired thoughts.
You draw these backward. Should be coming on and meet in nuptial pleasures.
All strive to be their own physicians, lady. We know what's best and fittest to be done, but who can follow it?
Till the disease be known, in vain it were to study remedy. Pray, what's your cause of sadness?
I have none, lady.
Why are you not merry, then?
You must find fault with my complexion for it. Nature perhaps has not compounded me of equal portions. Yet you discover diseases outward, I not feel within. Methinks I'm merry.
No, I have heard you sigh so violent. They have waked my slumbers with you in bed. One gust following another, as you would breathe out all your air together. There must be cause.
I know not how to win your good belief, lady, but if you'll trust me. Lazarello, come hither.
Enter Lazarello, and then the clown Jaques.
Marino, the carrier, brought me hither. I shall sit the worse this 2 days. But I think I have requited his side sport. Now to my letter, pat ye faith, here's my noble brother. I have a pestilent lady to my sister. She told me I should find him amongst ladies. If she had said lady, she had guessed singular well, i' faith. I will carry it as well as I can for my honorable brother's credit.
Fie, that's a lame excuse. You won not honor equal with your will. Myself from the castle saw you most nobly do. I saw you unhorse 3 brave opposers. You killed and captived many enemies.
Nay, now, sweet lady, you make too strict an inquisition. Men emulate in honour for the best. Who would be second that can foremost be? For this a man may wrangle with his fate, and grieve and envy at another's fortunes. Oh, see you yon fellow?
Waft him hence, good Lazarello, I am undone else. Look here, Dionisia, here's a jewel I never showed thee yet.
Oh, 'tis a very pretty one. Shall I have it?
With all my heart, sweet.
He gives me aim. I am 3 bows too short. I'll come up nearer next time.
When does the army march hence, Antonio?
Some 3 days hence, I must prepare to go.
I'll go with you, Antonio.
By no means, sweet. I'll send for thee with more harmonious music.
Indeed, I must.
Come, indeed, you shall not.
He wandered off, sir.
Mischief carry him.
No. Shall I have no notice taken of me? I'll begin in another tone with you. Mm, mm. There was a nobleman of Spain, lady, lady, that went abroad and came not again to his poor lady. O cruel age when one proud brother, lady, lady, shall scorn to look upon another of his poor lady.
Oh, what fellow's this?
Man's fellow here, lady, yet a good fellow too in place were.
Who? Oh, this fellow, lady. Ah, he that knows not him knows not a man of mirth. This doctor, I tell you, gives as good cure for the melancholy as the best empiric in Spain, where'er he be.
Yeah, I would he would practice on Antonio then.
Oh, troth, madam, 'tis a good plot. Please you to walk, I'll man you to the castle, leave them together. 'Tis an equal match if he make him not merry. He'll most terribly trouble his melancholy.
He'll make me more sad, I fear.
Why, I'd rather stay and partake some mirth.
No woman's fool, sweet lady. 'Tis two trades in Seville, as your man's tailor and your woman's tailor. So your lord's fool and your lady's fool, I am for the tongue, not for the bauble.
Well, Antonio, I'll leave you. And Sirrah, make him merry and I'll reward thee.
If I cannot make him merry, I know who can.
Who, I prithee?
'Twill out.
Why, my ken lady.
Now you jest too broad, Sirrah.
That's woman's jesting, madam.
Yeah, exit Lazarello and Dionisia.
Oh, I was afraid he would have named his sister.
I will make bold to be covered, brother, thou knowest.
Oh. Brother! Oh!
Look thee, there's black and white for thee from the little honorable rascal, my sister, and 1,000 commendations too without book, which I was bid to tell thee by route, if thou canst read and hear all at once.
Yes, I can.
There's honorable bones a breeding. My sister is the peevishest piece of lady's flesh grown of late. We have good sport at it to see her vex and fret. She boxes me as familiarly as if I were her cobbler, for talking to her in unnatural varlet, to strike her own flesh and blood, but I bear with her for thy sake.
I thank you for it, brother.
Nay, she cuts her lace and eats raw fruit too. What salad do you think she What salad do you think she longed for the other day?
I know not.
For a what do you call them? Those long upright things that grow a yard above the ground. Oh, pucku, pintle roots. But I got her belly full at last.
So 'twas well.
But the best jest was, she bit her shoemaker by the ear as he was drawing on her shoes, and another time her tailor for girding her too straight. He had a long nose, but she did so pinch his bill. What hast thou good news, brother?
Very good, brother. All I read are well.
Yes, faith, brother. We are in health, and drink to thine sometimes.
Brother, I would have your swift return.
'Twas my sister's charge. She thinks of long things, poor heart.
I cannot give the entertainment I would, brother, but I pray you let this provide for you.
Gives money.
This is hostess, tapster, chamberlain, and all, brother.
In the morning early, my letter shall be ready for you.
I will lie in my boots all night, but I'll be ready as soon as your letter. Buenos noches, mi frater.
Stay, brother. One thing I must ask you, and pray you tell me. What's your thought of me, finding me in a lady's company?
Oh, brother, I would not have you think you have a fool in your kindred. What? I understand these toys. There are fowl, and there are fish, there are wagtails, and there are mermaids.
And what sort do you think she is?
Oh, brother, definitions and distinctions, I on 'em come, I know. Flesh and blood will be sporting. And I were a married man myself. I would not always be at home. I would hawk and hunt and ride. There were diverse members in one body. There are flesh days and there are fish days. A man must not always eat one sort of meat.
I see you are a wag, brother.
Always let a married man get his own children at home if he can. If he have a bit abroad for procreation or so.
Well, good night, brother. I pray hold a good opinion of me.
Oh, sir, I can wink with one eye like a gunner. Shall I make my sister sick of the yellow jaundice? No, thought is free. Whatsoever I speak, I'll say nothing. Vale, valete, valete, valetote.
Exit Jaques.
Oh, I can dissemble mirth no longer. Ah, my afflicted soul, wert thou capable of separation, thou wouldst now be rent into 1,000 pieces. Lazarello.
We'll pause before Lazarello comes in, because I think we should just briefly unpack some of that little back and forth. Jake's banter was much more comprehensible, more reprehensible, but more comprehensible at the same time. There was definitely some on point commentary, I think, coming from him as well. Actually, the way that they're functioning, and of course, random song because Any thoughts on that little series of exchanges and Antonio's terrible quandary as to what he's going to do next? He's not got much of a quandary in a sense. Yes. Thoughts? Someone, not me. Mark, thank you.
It's a fun scene to read Antonio, and having not read the first half of the play, but just getting a brief summary of it, it was relatively easy to figure out what his kind of game is in this scene. Not really his game, but like what he's trying to do, and the precariousness of his situation as his brother-in-law walks in.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, and I think you got that across very nicely. Just, oh God, and your brother-in-law doesn't care. He's just, yeah, it's fine. I understand that's what people of your station do. And it's sort of, yeah. Okay, let's see where the scene. Unless anyone, I'm not seeing anyone waving, so I'm just gonna go on then. Enter Lazarello then. Let's see what wonderful sage advice comes from Lazarello.
Now, sir, you are full of news, I'm sure.
Heavy and froward news. Where's Dionisia?
At distance enough in the castle, you may speak.
I am discovered. Margaretta knows of this her wrong and my disloyalty.
It was no mystery and must be found, but how does she bear it?
Better than her birth, as well as my addition to her nobly, and if her hand does not belie her heart, she's glad that I have found an equal liking.
She has done as becomes her.
Yet with this request that I would not forsake her utterly, but sometimes see her. 'Tis articled, too, that twice a week she'd have my fellowship by nights, and private stealths, the which obtained, she'd lose the name of wife, and never shame to be called my concubine.
Aye, this is well. Fine light pageant work, but now sure building. This gilds a while, but will at length wash off again. This roof must be raised on a sounder groundsill. Give me your free bosom. You have one heart and two ways, which may have the better part freely.
My conscience and my affection war about this quarrel. My conscience saith the first, but my affection the second.
So then, you should love Margaretta, but do love Dionisia.
Oh, my heart's triangled. 2 points Dionisia's, and that downwards Margaret's, and that's the smallest.
I thank you for this free delivery. You seal your friendship to me. Now let me build. I have it. I'll rid your griefs at once. Will you but give consent?
To any fair condition?
No worse than Margaret's request to you, or very little. Return your letter, that you will satisfy all her desire. Appoint your first night's approach, and privately.
Night cannot hide it ever.
But hear me, you shall not go. I will supply your place, not to blemish, but to preserve your honour. Command your entertainment so secret be, as that no lights may lead you to the chamber. Leave me alone to counterfeit for once. And once shall serve for all, if it but take, and that she bed with me. Not for the act, for there your honour must be weighed, but company shall serve the term, Then rise I and proclaim both our luxurious sins. How dares she then claim any part in you?
'Tis a strange extreme.
Ulcers must have corrosives to eat, not skinned. Extremes must have extremes to cope with all. It will not yield else.
I like it and allow it. 'Tis more than water that must fight with wild fire. This passage shall be instantly prepared with some of my wearing, brought as near myself as art can make. This ring, to strengthen it. Could subtract a third from my estate to heal her injury, and quite blot out that taints mine honor being voiced. Must be cured. Pardon heaven and Margaret. There's an innate falling from what's good, which nothing can repair in us but our blood.
And they exit. So once again, Lazarello proves himself to be a sterling, respectable chap who is, I am disappointed in Antonio for agreeing to this. Frankly, I mean, Antonio's like he's not in the best moral position, but you feel that he's let himself get into an impossible place, whereas this is not something he should be agreeing to on any level at all. Lynn.
So I'm not sure I follow. So Lazarello's proposal is that he sneaks, it's dark as night, at night all cats are gray, whatever. And he sneaks in, pretends to be Antonio, sleeps with Antonio's first wife, then reveals himself to her and says, okay, now you are so compromised. We're gonna tell the world what's going on unless you agree to let the marriage go and let Antonio go on with his life and basically go away.
Yep.
Is that?
Yeah, that's basically the plan. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of been. I mean, it's also the nature of what Margaretta actually wrote to him, basically saying, "Look, that we should meet in this fashion anyway." I mean, there's something odd about what Margaretta's doing there as well.
She's got a game going. I don't know what her long game is, but the way she talks at the end of her scene implies that she's got something up her sleeve.
Margaretta,
yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Sorry, Rachael, I meant.
I think she's trying to consummate the marriage.
I'll go to Mark and then Sarah.
So Antonio there, I may have missed it. Jaques gave him a letter from Margaretta, and so that's what the news was that he was reading.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of like as Lazarello was entering, he was very quickly taking in this letter and then talking about it, or continuing to read it as he talks.
Yeah. Sarah.
Didn't they consummate the marriage before he left? Isn't that why he was in such a hurry?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think they did. So we'll see.
I don't know if they stated it, but the way it seems to be coming out here is that it hasn't been consummated. But it would make sense to consummate it, because otherwise, to a degree, it's not necessarily a legal marriage. You could get it annulled fairly straightforwardly if it hasn't been consummated, especially if you have money. It's harder to do if you don't have any money. But he's very wealthy, so he's presumably fine on that level. Irene.
I also agree. I thought that was the whole point of him marrying her. And I'm not sure if I got it right, but I thought in all the jokes that Jaques was making, sounded like she's pregnant.
That's what he's saying. I don't know.
Because he's saying that she was desperate to eat this particular salad, and she's a bit grumpy and she's a bit So that's what I got from it.
Yeah. I mean, because he could be lying. He could be just making that up for the sake of making off-color jokes, but that's what he's saying, is that she's with child.
Okay, so maybe we've missed something, and it was all very clear, or it's not very clear, and that's something that would need to be sorted out. Any other thoughts or confusions? I mean, anything else that doesn't quite seem to make sense at this stage? Okay, let's go into Act 4 then. Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Julianus with a letter and Piamentelli.
That I should 10 leagues be in scorn removed from court unto my country house. For what? 'Tis very strange. Know you the cause?
Not I, my lord.
I cry you mercy, sir, and my king mercy, and I beshrew my thoughts for being troubled. I know the cause myself, his grace is wise, foreseeing me on a pyramis of honour, so I able to the world. The talking salves, the multitude in their loud bellowing voices might add so much to me, sir, as might dim his own proper glory. For such weak eyes see the present object, nothing to come or past. He gives me safety in it, and indeed himself much worth and honour. For, sir, what honour can subjects have, but is their king's own right, due as their crowns? He's royally wise in it. I do applaud it highly and obey it.
Your prisoners must be sent to him, my lord.
Ha! My prisoners! That goes somewhat further. Sir, I beseech you this day, entertain yourself into our camp. Ye are nobly welcome. The king's health shall go round, the army too. This very night we'll answer and confirm what he commands.
Tomorrow I must return.
Exit Piamentelli.
You shall. Meantime, I pray, be merry with us. Commanded from the court, and my prisoners sent for, 'tis strange. Oh, my forgetful memory, I did ask how my Jacinta fared, but she forgets too. Mind's not me, her father. We'll mix 'em both together, but my prisoners.
Enter a servant.
Sir, here's a woman, forced by some tide of sorrow, with tears entreats your pity and to see you.
If any soldier has done violence to her beyond our military discipline, death shall divide him from us. Fetch her in.
Exit servant.
I have myself a daughter, on whose face, but thinking I must needs be pitiful. And when I had told my conquest to my king, my poor girl then shall know how for her sake I did one pious act. Is this the creature?
Enter with Jacinta.
Yes, my lord, and a sad one.
Leave us.
Exit servant.
A sad one. The downcast look calls up compassion in me. A corpse going to the grave looks not more deadly. Why kneel'st thou? Art thou wronged by any soldier? Rise, for this honour is not due to me. Hast not a tongue to read thy sorrows out? This book I understand not.
Oh, my father,
Thy father? Who has wronged him?
the great commander.
Under me?
Above you.
Above me? Who's above a general? None but the general of all Spain's armies, and that's the king, King Roderick. He's all goodness, he cannot wrong thy father.
What was Tarquin?
A king and yet a ravisher?
Such a sin was in those days a monster. Now 'tis common.
Prithee, be plain.
Have you not, sir, a daughter?
If I have not, I am the wretchedest man that this day lives, for all the wealth I have lives in that child.
Oh, for your daughter's sake, then hear my woes.
Rise then and speak 'em.
No, let me kneel still. Such a resemblance of a daughter's duty will make you mindful of a father's love. For such my injuries must exact from you a you would for your own.
And so they do, for whilst I see thee kneeling, I think of my Jacinta.
Stay your Jacinta then, chaste as the rose, coming on sweetly in the springing bud, and ne'er felt heat to spread the summer sweet, but to increase and multiply it more, but to itself keep in its own perfume, say that some rapine hand had plucked the blossom. Jacinta, like that flower, and ravished her, defiling her white lawn of chastity with ugly blacks of lust, what would you do?
Oh, 'tis too hard a question to resolve, without a solemn council held within of man's best understanding faculties. There must be love and fatherhood, and grief and rage and many passions, and they must all beget a thing called vengeance, but they must sit upon't.
Say this were done by him that carried the fairest seeming face of friendship to yourself.
We should fall out.
Would you in such a case respect degrees?
I know not that.
Say he were noble.
Impossible. The axe ignoble. The bee can breed no poison, though it suck the juice of hemlock.
Say a king should do it. Were the act less done, By the greater power does majesty extenuate a crime?
Augment it, rather.
Say then that Roderick, your king and master, to quit the honours you are bringing home, had ravished your Jacinta.
Who has sent a fury in this foul fair shape to vex me? I have seen that face, methinks, yet know it not. How darest thou speak this treason against my king? Durst any man of the world bring me this lie by this had been in hell? Roderick, a Tarquin?
Yes, and thy daughter, had she done her part, should be the second Lucrece. View me well, I am Jacinta.
Ah!
The king, my ravisher.
The king thy ravisher? Oh, unkingly sound, he dares not sure, yet in thy sullied eyes I read a tragic story.
Oh, enter Antonio, Alonso, and Medina.
Oh, noble friends, our wars are ended, are they not?
They are, sir.
But Spain has now begun a civil war, and to confound me only, see you my daughter? She sounds the trumpet, which draws forth my sword to be revenged.
I don't think I gave out an Alonso, did I? On whom? Speak loud your wrongs, digest your choler unto temperance, give your considerate thoughts the upper hand in your hot passions, to assuage the swelling of your big heart. If you have injuries done you, revenge you, and we second you. Julianus kneels before Jacinta.
Father, dear father.
Daughter, dear daughter.
Why do you kneel to me, sir?
To ask thee pardon that I did beget thee. I brought thee to a shame stains all the way twixt earth and Acheron. Not all the clouds of the sky's large canopy could they drown the seas with a perpetual inundation, can wash it ever out. Leave me, I pray.
Falls down. His fighting passions will be o'er anon, and all will be at peace.
Best in my judgment we wake him with the fight of his won honors. Call up the army and let them present his prisoners to him. Such a sight as that will brook no sorrow near it.
'Twas a good doctor that prescribed that physic. I'll be your patient, sir. Show me my soldiers and my new honors won. I will truly weigh them with my full griefs. They may perhaps overcome.
Exit Antonio. Why, now there's hope of his recovery.
Jacinta, welcome. Thou art my child still. No forced stain of lust can alienate our consanguinity.
Dear father, recollect your noble spirits, conquer grief, and the manly way. You have brave foes subdued, then let no female passions thus o'erwhelm you.
Mistake me not, my child, I am not mad. Nor must be idle, for it were more fit if I could purchase more. I had more wit to help in these designs. I am grown old, yet I have found more strength within this arm than without proof I durst have boasted on. Roderick, thou king of monsters, couldst thou do this? And for thy lust confine me from the court? There's reason in thy shame. Thou shouldst not see me. Ha! They come, Jacinta, they come. Hark, hark, now thou shalt see what cause I have given my king.
Enter Antonio with the African king Muly, Mumen, and other Moors prisoners.
Stand, pray, stand all. Deliver me my prisoners. So 'tis well, wondrous well, I have no friends but these my enemies. Yet welcome, brave Moors. With you I'll parley. First I defy you all.
How?
I am avowed for to your king, to Roderick.
How, Julianus?
Nay, we fear you not. Here's our whole army, yet we are strong enough for him, we are strong enough from fear or flight.
Make us understand a reason, Julianus, if for disloyalty reason may be given of this your language.
Be you my judges who I make my foes? Was my power placed above my mercy, or mercy above my power? Went they not hand in hand?
Ever most nobly.
Ever, ever.
Why then should Roderick do this base deed?
You do distract us, sir. Beseech you, name it.
Behold this child of mine, this only child of mine. I had a daughter, but she is ravished now.
Ravished.
Yes, by Roderick, the lustful tyrant, Roderick.
Oh, most abhorred
Abhorred
deed.
Join with me, noble Spaniards, in revenge.
We will.
Have I your heart?
Our lives shall seal
Our
it.
lives shall seal it.
Then, princely Mumen, here I free thee, and all thy valiant Moors. Wilt thou call back thy scattered forces, and incorporate their strengths with mine, and with me march through Spain, sharpening thy sword with vengeance for my wrongs?
Most willingly, to bind me faster to thee. Plight me thy ravished daughter to my wife, and thou shalt see my indignation fly on wings of thunder.
Oh, my second hell, a Christian's arms embrace an infidel.
I'll not compel her heart, woo, win, and wed her. Forced has she been too much. My honored friends, what we all thought to have borne home in triumph must now be seen there in a funeral, racked honor being chief mourner. Here's the hearse which we'll all follow. Roderick, we come to give thy lust a scourge, thy life a doom.
And they exit. So the war that we had sequences of in Act 2 is important to the plot and will be developed further as we go on. Yes, we've got a motive father and daughter scene here, following on from the references to Tarquin, etc. earlier, yes, we have that elaborated on here, and yes, it looks like the general of the king's armies is going to turn and go for Roderick, which I think we can all go yay. Generally, I think it's a good thing. And Rachael just put in the chat: is this a history play? Sort of. It's sort of set in history. This is none of this is precise. I don't think any of these specific figures necessarily quite tally actual events, but the basic broad sweep of history, it is set in somewhere in the 8th century, I think, off the top of my head. Thoughts in the room on this, on the actions that we've got here? I see an awful lot of people thinking, but not necessarily having quite the words. Mark.
It seems like it would be a cool scene to stage. You have the prisoners brought on, and they're like all on one side of the stage looking dejected, and then the proud Spaniards on the other side. And then the general like walks over to the prisoners and then turns to the Spaniards and says, "I defy you all." But then by the end, they're all like, "Yeah, let's all join together and go after the king." But yeah, it seems a little melodramatic, but in a fun way.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of this play is doing effect. It is aiming for a series of effects, and the more extreme, the better. I think is what this playwright is going for. It's a series of extremities. Lynn,
the enemy king, the Moorish king, asking to marry Jacinta, that's a weird little twist, and then her father's like, if you can talk her into it, but I won't compel her to do it. So that kind of goes nowhere. I'm curious if that's going to actually come to anything. I mean, in a tragi-comedy or a comedy, he would convert. Like, I'll become a Christian for your sake. So that marriage would be acceptable to her. But it's just weird. It's just weird.
I mean, it's also considering the questions of consent and sexual violence that this play is constantly throwing in. It's interesting when someone said yesterday about the being in the army seems to be the safest place in terms of sexual violence. But then we have this moment where the someone says someone's been has been assaulted. He immediately turns around and says, "Right, anyone in the army who's done this, he's very keen on military discipline on that front." But he's also like, that's the first thought that goes into his head about what armies do. And then we have this moment towards the end where it is this question of, well, once again, we're talking about who's going to be women being used as bargaining chips. Women's yes, he's saying she will get to make that decision. But in this world that we're looking at here, is this a particularly good turn of events here. Again, if it was a comedy, then a sensible path might be found through this. But in the scheme of this play, I'm quite worried about where that's going, for lots of reasons. Irene, then Evan.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice that included in all these people that are saying, yes, let's go get revenge on the king for this sexual violence, is Antonio, who has recently agreed to perform, to send his wife into some kind of horrible sexual, so
well, yes, yeah, exactly. He's consented to his friend essentially raping her because
exactly.
he doesn't consent to have sex with Lazarello. So, yeah, boys.
Yeah. As ever, no one's really coming out of this play exactly smelling of roses yet. I mean, Antonio was the closest thing we had to someone we sort of liked earlier in the play, and it's like he's thrown all that away. It was like we could go with, he's fallen in love with two. Oh, it's a bit awkward. That's a terrible situation to be in. Maybe he'll do the honourable thing. No, he really doesn't. And he throws that gambit away. Erin.
It seems like in what was just discussed that there's this idea that everything here is augmented or commented upon by the status of the person doing it.
Yeah.
Like he said, doesn't the king's nobility, exonerate him of any crime? He says, no, it augments the crime when the king does it. The king isn't supposed to stoop like this. And the fact that he's setting it in Spain is like, he's trying to talk about, how you lose a kingdom, but he wouldn't be able to talk about that if he were doing a history play in England and talking about, the English monarchy. It's kind of like, let's set this long ago in some far off land to talk about silly kings who undo their kingdoms with these acts. But, when we talk about what's going to go on with Margaretta and sending somebody to bed with her, it's been made much that she's lower status. She doesn't have an army that can come and get you later. And yet the king has offended someone who has the power to come after him.
Yes, in terms of basic politics, he's not very good at this. I think Roderick's planning here is very, very poor. Yes. Other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll move in to the next scene. No. Okay. Act 4, Scene 2. A bed discovered. On it, Lazarello as Antonio. Enter Margaretta and Fydella with a halter.
Sleeps he, Fydella?
Slumbering, madam. He's not yet in his dead sleep.
'Tis now his dying. Anon comes his dead sleep. For never shall he wake until the world hath phoenix-like been hid in his own ashes. Fydella, take my strength into thine arms and play the cruel executioner, as I will first instruct thee.
I am so far from shrinking, madam, that I'll gladly be the prologue to Antonio's tragedy.
Antonio's tragedy. That very name should strike even sparks of pity from the flint. Antonio, husband Antonio.
Remember, there's another owes that name.
Aye, that's the poison kills me. Shall a strumpet, for she's no better, rob me of a treasure so dear to me as he was? Yet her I pardon. The master thief lies here and must die for it. All mercy hence I banish. Justice look down to see a woman's vengeance. Thus I begin, and follow thus and thus. Now I am in, nothing shall pull me back.
He has passage yet for breath.
Here's remedy for that. Pull, Fydella.
He would speak, it seems.
Never. His tongue betrayed me once. I will no more listen my temptations. Here he shall a while, and that but deftly. Antonio, I was your wife, lordly Antonio, and in that balance equaled with yourself. I was your handmaid, and you might have trod on my humility. I had kissed your feet, but with disdain thou tramplest on my throat, as I now do on thine, and will deface what nature built for honor, not deceit. Our wedding was in private, so our divorce. Yet this shall have as free and open blazon as a truth-speaking goodness. O my Fydella, thou little instrument of my revenge, I would not have thee for thy duty lost. There's gold. Hie thee to safety, fare thee well. I must ne'er see thee more. This place will be...
Not too hot for me, madam. My complexion is natural to it. Good fortunes follow you. If I might counsel you, I would conceal it. If you can fly, do not betray yourself.
Exit Fydella.
Fie, prithee, away. Thou wilt mar all the glory, conceal the deed, even to the bended brow of the stern judge. I'll speak and call for justice. Proud of my glorious vengeance, I will smile upon my dreadful executioner. 'Twas that first enacted in my breast, she should not dare to kill, that dares not die. 'Tis needy mischief, and he's basely bent that dares do ill, yet fear the punishment.
And exit. Good on you, Margaretta. Anyway, it's his first pucker death of the play, and did anyone say the other day? Somebody, yeah. Anyway, a really awkward moment from Fydella towards the end there of just the again the racializing of what she's doing here and the way she's coded in the play. Really not very pleasant, especially for a character who's so technically peripheral in this sense. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, bed strangling death, oddly pleasing, which
I'm down with it.
doesn't necessarily say good things about us, but you know, he really does deserve something bad happening to him, and within the logic of the play, this is it. He gets an eloquent death speech as well of and she's even better. It's nothing worse than when you've got a horrible character who then gets to do a noble death speech. No, just death rattling.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now I'm really curious. How is she gonna discover it, or somehow get yeah, it's gonna get revealed that she killed the wrong guy, and how's she gonna take that?
I don't
Doesn't
know.
Get her revenge, so I feel a little bad for her.
I don't think she's going to be that sad.
She doesn't know that Lazarello is really is the instigator. She doesn't know that he's the one that said, just leave Margaretta and marry Dionisia. You like her better. She's a better, like, yeah. So she doesn't know how much he deserved it. So she's gonna be like, oh no, I killed his best friend instead. Oh.
Yep. Sorry. But
Irene, yes.
He's the one that was in bed with her. So she must know that he's not.
Oh, good point. Like, yeah, he can't be a good person if he was sneaking into bed with her. So yeah. Okay.
Under false pretenses.
Yeah, regardless of who she precisely knows he is, I think she's fine with their death, whoever they are, at this particular juncture, and quite proud of it actually. That's what's quite interesting there. Okay.
Yeah, basically, don't do the crime if you can't do the time, and I'm willing to do the time. Like,
yeah, absolutely. So, Act 4, and the bodies are starting to pile up. Let's see how many we get in Act 5, and whether they're the right people. So, Act 5, Scene 1, enter King Roderick and Piamentelli.
Some music.
Music, sir, 'tis all untuned. Remember your proud enemy's approach, and your unreadiness to entertain them.
If all be set upon a careless hazard, what shall care do there?
Rouse you like a lion, and fright this herd of foxes, wolves, and bears from daring to come near you. A king's eye, his magical charms in it to bind treason down. They fight like thieves for spoil, you for your own.
Oh, Piamentelli, there's within my bosom an army of furies mustered, worse than those which follow Julianus. Conscience beats the drum of horror up.
What? A maidenhead? Pray be yourself and justify the act. Stand on your guard and royalize the fact by your own dispensation.
Go call our friends together. If we have none, hire them with double pay. Ourself will search and break those dangerous doors which have so long kept Spain in childish ignorance.
Oh, good my lord, forbear. There's fatal prophecies forbid you.
There's fatal fooleries, tell me of prophecies. Shall fear affright me? No, upon my life, 'tis hidden treasure, kept for needful hours, and now 'tis come. 'Tis gold must purchase soldiers. Shall I not seek it then? Alone I'll break ope those forbidden doors. Go muster men.
This I dread more than all our enemies. If good proceed from this, no magic art shall fright me.
Exit Piamentelli.
Or good or bad. I'll throw the dice myself and take the chance that falls. Thou art the first.
Breaks open the door. Thunder! Fum, fum, fum.
Hell wakens, yet I'll on. 20 at least I must pass through before I break the spell. If this door thither lead, I'll enter hell.
Exit Roderick. And I think this is something actually we really do need to bring up now because we didn't discuss it last time, which is one of the reasons why Roderick's been struggling to fight the invading forces is he can't unlock his vault. He's got a vault full of gold that he can't unlock because it's cursed. So he's been fighting the invading forces on the cheap, but now situation has forced his hand because his actual army has turned against him, and now he has to hire mercenaries. So he has to get gold from the cursed chamber. At no point have they really explained why it's cursed in any meaningfully detailed fashion. This is some very strange sort of fairy tale quality to this of the cursed gold. But he's got cursed gold, and we have I apologize, my little thunder machine is in a different room, and I couldn't get it in time. Anyway, Lynn, then Mark.
Yeah, I was tad disappointed because I know you've got a thunder sheet or a thunder. Yeah. Yeah, this is an odd little twist. You know how I am about genre. And magical vaults and curses and things like that are more typical features of romance or tragi-comedy. Straight up Jacobean tragedy doesn't partake of the supernatural much. If you think of something from this period like Women Beware Women or The Changeling or The White Devil, it's all about human frailty. There's rarely anything supernatural going on. So this is just generically odd. And I'm very curious.
Yeah, and the thing is, just also tonally about what this play's been doing, it has been dancing around a reasonable amount, from very extreme violence and unpleasantness through to the comedy of Jaques, which is witty wordplay and sometimes juxtaposed at the same time. But we haven't quite got, and we've had a battle scene. We had a massive battle sequence of 3 or 4 scenes that ran into each other with alarums, excursions, and fight scenes, and all the stuff you'd expect. So this play is sort of throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, and isn't, in a sense, interested in genre in that in the way that maybe a modern audience is. Mark.
Yeah, the first 2 scenes we read today, I felt like we were in a city comedy. And I wasn't here yesterday, so I had my brain very much there. And then and then not Antonio gets murdered, and I'm like, whoa, this is just not where my genre expectations were going. But also, so he says, Roderick says, 20 at least I must pass through before I break the spell. So there are 20 doors between him and the money that are all part of the curse? I'm just trying to understand this curse.
The curse is not very well explained, and I don't really know how it functions. It's
really kind of just in passing. People, I'll just go into my magic vault, and someone says, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," and that's where it gets left.
But now he's saying he's going to break down 20. It seems like he's saying he's going to break down another 20 doors until he gets to the money. So it's interesting. Maybe they're like, I don't know, otherworldly doors. Not just like doors that he had 20 of in his kingdom before the curse happened.
I don't know. I just don't know. But hey, it's a set design. So rolling cascade of doors he has to fight through in a lengthy mime sequence. I can see that being unbelievably tedious. Right. Okay, well, he's broken through the door. He's exited. Act 5, Scene 1, thunder and lightning. Lightning affects people. Ooh. Enter Roderick again at another door.
So now I'm entered to the fatal chamber. Show now thy full effect, huh? What sight's this?
Enter Julianus, the Moor, Jacinta, Antonio, Alonso, and one presenting Roderick.
'Tis holiday in hell, the fiends are loose. I have enfranchised you, thank me, devils. Was this the fatal incantation that here was locked so many fearful ages, and was decreed to me to dislocate? Fire consume you, geometric devils! Where borrowed you those bodies, you damned thieves? In your own shapes you are not visible, or are you yet but fancies imaginary? What's he that me presents? I have not sent my carcass forth. I am not sleeping now, and my soul strayed forth. I am in real self. Must I be captivate by a traitor so? Devil, thou placed me false, undiademed, and such a sooty fiend inherit me. Jacinta too, that she cursed, must she have part? Kneeling to them, here's a solemnity in the devil's name. Go reign in sulphur, or in some frozen labyrinth. This kingdom's mine. Thou there that me personatest, draw forth thy sword and brandish it against hell. I'll show thee how.
And exit the show.
What magic binds me? What fury holds mine arm? Piamentelli! Allah! None succor me.
Enter Piamentelli.
What ails you, sir?
My foes are come upon me.
Coming they are, but yet a league distant, sir.
Zoons, they are come, and have been here with me. Traitorous Julianus and his ravished daughter, an army of Moors, of Turks and infidels.
Your fancies trouble you. They are but coming, too near in that. Make up to your soldiers. Full 20,000 now will follow you, and more.
The Moor is coming, and the devil too that must succeed me in my last monarchy. Take arms and fight. The fiends shall know they have not played me right.
And exit the king. So we have a dumb show, of which we have to infer what the action in the dumb show is from what he's saying. It's not actually very clear, but obviously his foes are all surrounding him and take the crown from off his head and force him down. We have Jacinta kneeling as well. Really unpleasant line of racist line. But yeah, once again we have this we have an effect. We have a dumb show. Haven't had one of those in a little while. And then Piamentelli comes in and goes, "You're okay. You seem a bit off." Mark.
We have an interesting little kind of brief little mention of kind of like fate, and it's just like this dumb show is like, was this the fatal incantation that here was locked so many fearful ages and was decreed for me to dislocate? So I don't know, he seems to be imagining that whoever created this curse or whatever like put this vision in here that's just been like there waiting to be activated. But it was his fate, many years later to come and see it. I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
He comes in. There's a DVD player. He has to put the disc in. Wait for it to start playing. Go, hi, Roderick. This is from the yeah. This is
I knew you would be here.
Yeah.
It's hologram. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
You're cursed. Yes. So yeah. I think you're right. It sort of has that feeling that this has all just been on a loop for hundreds of years, waiting for him to unlock the magic treasury, which, as I say, I'm sure is entirely historically accurate and has a source that exists. I'm sure this is all absolutely true.
Curse included.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts on his magical chamber? No. Okay. Act 5, Scene 3. Stage direction to fill us with hope and promise. Enter Lothario with a halter.
Oh, for a private place to be hanged in, when all hope's gone, welcome despair. Which way soe'er the day goes, I'm sure this is my way. If the king overcome, I shall be hanged for Jacinta's escape. If she rise, I fall in recompense of her wrongs. All my grief is, I want an heir to have my purse and clothes, one that would take the pains for me, an honest hangman, were now as good a companion as I would desire to meet with. I have lived a lord, and I would be loath to die an executioner.
Enter the clown, Jaques.
Murder is come to light. Oh, sister, how hast thou overthrown our honorable house before it was well covered? Oh, ambitious sister, half a share in a lord would not content thee. Thou would have all or none. Now thou hast none, for thou hast killed thy lord and husband.
I was a lord, although a body lord.
I was a lord's brother, although a body lord's brother.
O lechery, how hast thou puffed me up and undone me?
Oh, lechery, thou hast battened me a while and then spoiled me.
Ha! What art thou?
Partly honorable, partly miserable.
Give me thy hand.
Give me thy halter then.
Art thou a hangman then?
Aye, and a mad one, but now I droop and am ready to drop into the bucket.
Look, here's work for thee. Here's clothes and here's money. Would thou take the pains to hang me?
I have lived a lord's brother and would be loath to die a hangman.
Do not desire to die. Live till thou diest of thine own accord.
'Tis my desire, but I want a cord of mine own. Prithee, lend me thine.
Let me persuade thee to be charitable to thyself. Spare thyself and hang me. I have been a pander. Know'st thou what a pander is?
In brief, a knave, more at large thus. He's a thing that is poor. He waits upon a whore. When she's sick, he's sore. In the streets he goes before. At the chamber waits at door. All his life runs off score. This I know, and know no more.
All this I'll add to it. He wears long lock and seeks villainous socks, and many nights in the stocks endures some knocks, and a many of mocks eats reversions of cocks, yet lies in the flocks, thrives by the smocks, and dies with the pox. All this I have been, and now desire to be hanged for't.
What hast thou there?
100 marks, besides leases and lands which I have wickedly gotten, all which I will bestow on thee, if thou wilt take the pains to hang me.
My brother is dead, and there is no way to raise our house again but by ready money or credit. The hangman many times mounts above his betters. Well, I will hang, but my conscience bears me witness. 'Tis not for any good will I bear unto thee, nor for any wrong that I know thou hast committed, but innocently for thy lands, thy leases, thy clothes, and thy money. And so come along with me to the next tree, where thou shalt hang till thou art dead and stink above ground.
With all my heart, my guts, my lights, my liver, and my lungs.
And they exit. Unexpected skeltonics in the bagging area. I was not expecting that. Random sort of rhyming context about how awful they are. I really like this scene. I really did like this scene. I mean, I'm not. I mean, Lothario's not a very nice man, so I'm not that fussed about his despair. Jaques, because he's a clown, I'm sort of not really worried about him hanging himself. And if he does, I mean, we have occasionally had clowns die, but they usually survive. So yeah, I thought this was some lovely sort of bits in that. So yeah, a callback to 100 odd years of for that verse form. Any thoughts on the room?
Yeah, it's weird that Lothario answers him in the same style. Like, there's just something really weird about this scene. And, Jaques is still making jokes about, I'm not going to hang you because you asked me to, and I'm not going to hang you because you've done something wrong, because I don't know anything about that. I'm innocently hanging you for the money. Like, that's kind of backwards.
Yeah, it's, I just need a cord. Can I borrow yours? It's a bit waiting for Godot, actually. Aaron.
I think it's funny that I missed the first half. I don't know if it's true, but what we've read so far, Jaques is always in prose when everyone else is still doing verse. And it's only, and Lothario's in prose, it's only when you get them together that they both start to actually do verse, and like high rhyming, like incredibly structured verse. It's like these two people only really work when they talk to each other. They annoy everyone else, but they both love this round and round, and it starts to sing when they're together, which I think is just a funny way to show that.
It's like they've only found each other at the end of the play. Mark.
I mentioned in the chat that all those rhymes would be a fun improv game, and I feel like that would be, especially for Lothario, the fun in that scene is playing it as if he's coming up with it as he goes. But yeah, he does even more rhyme. He does like 9 lines that all rhyme, whereas Jaques only did 7. So yeah, he just like keeps finding more and more as he goes, and that'd be fun.
It's a rap battle.
And yeah, you can almost see that Jaques is sort of just standing there going, and is there more? Can you do more? Is that all you've got? And it's just like, yeah. Okay, well, it's this thing. This play keeps throwing every so often just it's something awful and something that makes your heart drop, and then every so often you get these little moments you just go, oh no, I really like this bit. I'm liking this. This is interesting. Okay, let's see where we go. Act 5, Scene 4. Alarum excursions. Enter Roderick and Piamentelli.
Fly, fly, my lord.
With what wings?
With wings of speed, your foes, sir, conquer, and your soldiers bleed. The barbarous Moor is titled by your name, the Spanish king. Therefore, your safest speed will be to Biscany. There you may find new friends, new safety, and new kingly minds.
There is no friendship where there is no power. I must crave now, O poverty most poor, to beg of them receive mine alms before. I have defended them.
They'll you relieve.
I'll make the proof. What do you call the man whose prowess in that rightful victory against the Moors did so much honor win?
Antonio.
He was, and is, and may be, but not long. This poisoned Julianus has battered him. Thou art my subject still, Piamentelli.
Whilst I am Piamentelli.
Wert thou gone, that I must then boast I were king alone. For but thyself, I do not know one subject. Then subjects all, since you'll not let me die. I'll seek a weary life in Biscany.
And exit. Short little scene just to sort of catch us up, mostly plot, a little bit of additional despair from Roderick. Oh, poor him. And yeah, that's mostly getting us into the ramping up the action in the sense there's alarum, there's excursions, there's fly, my lord. It's the kind of stuff you do to sort of say the ending's nearly here and it's all getting very exciting. And people presumably are running around and Roderick's not thinking it's going well. It's not going well for Roderick. Mark.
I'm trying to figure out, like, plot-wise, what they're saying about Antonio here. Are they saying that he was fighting? I can't tell what side they're saying he's fighting on, and then this poisoned Julianus has battered him. Yeah, I can't tell if Antonio, like the previous scene with Antonio, with the whole like, I defy you Spaniards, and then the Spaniards work with him. There wasn't any clarity, like it said all Or like, yeah, we'll work with you, but I'm trying to understand if they're saying Antonio is actually.
It does seem that
putting on
Antonio
Roderick's
is
side here.
fighting on Roderick's side, doesn't it?
Yeah. So Antonio, I guess, would have just been kind of like silently being like, okay, I guess all the Spaniards are with them.
Yeah. He wasn't. His may not be. His poison jet has battered him.
Yeah, maybe it'll become more clear as we proceed.
Yeah. But yes, that was the impression I got, that everyone in that scene had basically been turned around, but maybe they hadn't been, and actually they marched off in a different direction, going, "Ooh, you."
Maybe Antonio, at least, or some of them.
Yeah.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, but that wasn't the impression I got. But let's say yes, that may not be the case. Okay. Let's go into Act 5, Scene 5. Enter Muly, Mumen, and Jacinta.
Thou mutable piece of nature, dost thou fly me?
Art frightful to me.
I shall be more frightful. If thou repel a proffered arm of love, there will rebound a hate blacker in art than in similitude. Forget me not. Have not I chased thy wronger from his ground, and my triumphant self thy conqueror? I am thy king.
I'll fear thee then?
Not love me.
The word is poisoned in thy very tongue. Love thee, as I would love my ravisher.
Thy father shall repent.
He must and will, that ere he breed a captive infidel.
Look for a vengeance.
Exit Muly, Mumen.
Yes, some barbarous one. 'Tis natural to thee, base African, thine inside a blacker than thy sooty skin. Oh, Julianus, what hast thou done? Thou hast escaped the raging lion to wrestle with a dragon. I would have slain, he would have slain, like with a majestic grip, but this with venom better had been thy fate, for him to fall then thus by such a hellhound.
Enter Muly, Mumen, and soldiers with Julianus.
Bring forth that traitor, same that lustful whore.
What wilt thou, monster?
Anything that's monstrous.
Reward a traitor.
Traitor?
Be thine own judge. What art thou but thy king and kingdom's ruin? Was it thy hopes that ever I should trust thee? Traitors are poisoned arrows drawn to the head, which we shoot home at mischief, being struck dead. Then let the arrow be consumed in fire. Hast not betrayed thy king and country basely?
For thee, ingrateful villainous Moor, I have deserved to die, but not by thee. And I beseech thee, bloody tyrant, hasten my punishment.
That boon is easily granted.
'Tis now full glory to thee, to strike home, set the black character of death upon me. Give me a sentence horrid as thyself art. Speak in thy barbarous language thy last doom. A tyrant's axe sends me to a blessed home.
Pluck out his eyes and her exclaiming tongue. She shall in silent sorrow then lead him, her eyes shall be his stars.
Oh, spare her, tyrant. By her offence and wrong thou hast aspired, then tread not on her virtues. 'Tis enough that I do suffer for the good ill I did, to set thy captive foot above my head. Oh, spare my child.
Entreat for me, forbear, sir. Either be you dumb, or let him not hear. I shall have mental prayers for heaven, fuller effectual than this tongue can utter. And for the author of my wrongs and sin, I shall have heavy curses left within.
And exeunt soldiers with Julianus and Jacinta. So I'm just going to pause there mid-scene because there's a lot going on here. A lot of it quite unpleasant. So again, lots of really quite problematic material here. So Muly, Mumen has turned on Julianus, which is not inherently a unreasonable thing to do if you're in that situation, but just the way it's framed within this text is really quite awful. And then they're going to pluck out his eyes and her tongue. So violence heaped on violence. from someone who earlier we were thinking, oh, he seems all right. Actually, he seems like a reasonable chap. And actually, no, the way this is framing it is actually he's potentially even worse than everybody else, and that may be part of the racial matrix that this play is playing with, because everyone seems to be on that page all the way through. So yeah, some horrors coming. I just going to say it's not going to get better. So any thoughts at this particular moment? No. Okay, let's take it further. Enter Margaretta with the body of Lazarello, Pedro, and Clavelli.
O justice, justice, thou that fillst the throne of sovereign justice, thou art a severe one. Give me thy sharpest rigor.
Against whom?
Myself, the murderess of my valiant husband.
More fruits of Christians.
Enter Antonio, wounded with Dionisia.
Yes, and see, here's more. Antonio's ghost, murdered by me, yet livest thou?
Revenge and jealousy misled thy arm to kill my friend, my supposed friend, not me. Thou strangledst Lazarello.
Oh, my hard fate! My aim was full at thee.
End thy just hate, for I am parting from thee. See, those two that wrongs thee are both wounded to the death. With grief she, I by poison lose my breath.
Forgive him, but spare not me.
How camest you wounded? I clap my hands at this your tragedy. My birth was base, but my revenge flew high.
A noble girl, a lusty, stout Virgo.
Julianus, for a wrong done to his daughter, the fatal engine that hath beat down Spain, revolted from his king, and set that more up who now insults, being but a captive then, and cause in honest language I was just in taxing this revolt of Julianus, he bid a soldier kill me, who refusing it, he himself struck me. Life was lent thus long, but for the cleansing of my conscience. I feel death pangs. Forgive me both and all. Let my soul rise, although my body fall. With honor I got honor, thus my sin thrives. Thus falls the wretched husband of two wives.
And Antonio falls.
So here's a brace of widows now at one windfall, a wholesome example to all succession. Let every wise man take heed of two wives, 'tis too great odds. I durst be one of the two myself, should break one of the strongest husband's hearts. What should I call thee? Widow, shall we marry one another now? And beg chimeras, and beget chimeras? I do not think that ever any one husband dares venture on us both at once again.
Dost thou play with thunder, or is that a thing which should supply the place of soul in thee? Merely fantastical. Are thy passions such feathered follies, idle giggletries? Are these the rites due to a funeral?
Why, hast never seen the sunshine of a rainy day? Who does believe a widow's tears to be her heart's sorrow? Are they not then better spared than derided? Let me see then what thou darest do with wet eyes that I dare not answer with a smiling cheek.
What thou darest not second, I dare do.
Begin, I'll pledge thee.
Thou darest not.
Try me.
Thus, then I come to thee, Antonio.
Stabs herself.
Thou didst forsake me living. Being dead, I will enjoy thy monumental bed.
Kisses him.
Aye, hast thou that resolution? Methinks, as a woman as I am, should not outdo me. I must die one day, and as good this day as another. Whereabouts is my heart? I think all over my body. I am all heart, and therefore cannot miss. Some creatures die singing. Why not I merrily? Make me room, Antonio and Margaretta. We'll all tumble in one bed together. I'll lie as close as she on thy left side, and have as many kisses too. That's my bargain. My sins are all upon thy conscience, but I forgive thee, and heaven be the clerk to it. My soul will have free passage. My body I bequeath to thee, Antonio. I am your wife, and will come to bed to you. Thus I make unready, thus I lie down, thus kiss and thus embrace. I'll ever keep. I am weary now with play. I needs must sleep forever.
And dies.
Excellent pastime.
I was waiting for that to pause because it's like,
Um,
Muly's just standing at the side of the stage, just going, "What is this strange entertainment you are presenting me with?" And it's quite a thing. Antonio sort of enters, going, "Oh, some stuff went down off stage. Let me explain what happened." And it's like, I'd rather have seen it, frankly, because that sounds a lot more interesting than what we're getting here, and a lot more. Yeah, because we have these. I mean, I also just think you've got to stage this very carefully, because if I was Antonio and these two they could die on top of him. It could be very uncomfortable. If for the rest of the scene, if people don't arrange their deaths in a comfortable fashion, as it were. I'm not quite convinced that they should kill themselves for him, particularly. I mean, they could kill each other. I might buy that. I could go for a knife fight, but I find the killing themselves slightly, yeah. Mark.
So yeah, Antonio did clear up that whole thing. He said that because he was taxing the revolt of Julianus, that Julianus bid a soldier kill him. And the soldier refused it, and then Julianus struck Antonio with a poisoned weapon, I guess. But yeah, it's like weird that not only did we not see that happen. I mean, that's pretty common that, they just talk about something happen off stage. But yeah, we don't see Antonio after it is revealed, after Julianus reveals to the Spanish army why he is going to go after the king. And just all on stage are like, yeah, you're right, we'll join you. It's very weird that they don't have anything textually. I feel like in performance, if one were to do some parts of this, I don't know how you would do any parts of this play today. But maybe some parts you could do in just scenes. But it's like, yeah, do you just like have Antonio, just kind of like looking uncomfortable and walking with everybody, or like walking? I don't know. I feel like you got to do something, because it's rather confusing the way that it seems like he's on board just from not saying anything about it on stage, and then later them talking about how he was objecting.
Okay, shall we go into our final horrors? Because there's still. Oh no, Rachael.
No, I don't know. I was just gonna say, like, maybe is this because this, I don't know, maybe once or twice in these plays that we've read, there's just that moment where somebody's getting conquered, and maybe the excellent pastime is not just because it's like they're putting on a play for him or something, but because like maybe as he was taking over the country, he was going to execute some people, and here he has these people doing it themselves. Like they're all just killing themselves, because the scene before you have, or not the scene before, but some of the scenes before, you have the two clowns running off to like hang themselves.
Mark.
Yeah, just earlier in the scene, the new king, after Margaretta's like, I killed my husband, he says, more fruits of Christians. And so I feel like that line and then this other line is just kind of being like, it's as if he's being like, is this what Christians do all the time? They're just murdering each other and killing themselves, and like, so in a way that could be kind of funny.
Yes, and especially looking ahead to his next line. I get the impression he's enjoying himself. So we'll let the viewers at home catch that in a moment now, as we go into the last series of horrors, because enter Jacinta, leading Julianus.
'Tis night with me forever. Where's this tyrant? Turn me but to him, and from these darkened eyes I shall discover his Cimmerian face. For though all is dark, yet still that's visible. and nothing else to me. See, rancorous villain, look what a bloody pageant thou hast made. I borrow eyes to guide me of my child, and her I'll lend a tongue to curse thee with. Thou laughest at my misery. 'Tis well. Thou givest a grave unto my sorrows, yet wherefore shouldst thou glory in it? This work is none of thine, 'tis heaven's merciful justice. For thou art but the executioner, the master hangman, and those ministers that did these bloody ravishments upon thy second slaves, and yet I more deserve. I was a traitor to my lawful king, and though my wrongs incited on my rage, I had no warrant signed for my revenge. 'Tis the people's sins that makes the tyrant kings, and such was mine for thee. Now I obey. But my affliction teaches me too late on bloody revenger. Finish up my fate.
The rest shall noble be. I'll not confine, nor give thee living in captivity. Thy body shall enjoy the general prison, but thy soul set free.
Thou art good in that, and noble.
Nay, it shall nobler be in the performance. Give him weapons. Thou art a soldier, and shalt end so. I'll be thy opposite, with odds of eyes, but not of arms, I vow. If thy dark aim hit in my face, I'll stand and die with thee. If not, fall by my hand.
Thou'lt hurt my penitence, for I shall bless all the ill deeds that I have done for thee in this so noble end.
Be prepared then.
One thing more of thee, be a prophet to me first, for thou knowest what shall become of my poor Jacinta, what end to her is fated.
Before thy end thou shalt know it.
Oh, let it be, oh, let it noble be, and honorable. Her life has had too many strokes of sorrows. Oh, let her end be sparing.
It shall be noble too.
I beg for her that has no tongue to beg, and what remains my faint yielding breath shall all be spent in blessings over thee. Farewell, Jacinta. Take my latest blessing. I know thy soul returns a thanks to me. Make haste to overtake me if thou be'st stayed. Think of Cleopatra and Brutus's wife. There's many ways to end a weary life.
Come, sir, I stand before you.
Thus I come. Thy death I'll venter, but receive my own.
He stabs Jacinta, who Muly has held before him. Muly then wounds him.
So I have my doom, and I have hit too. Laughest thou? I am deluded then.
Oh, bloody homicide! Thou hast slain thy daughter.
False villain! Hast thou then so mocked my woes to make me fatal butcher of my child? Was she the target to defend thy body? Forgive me, Jacinta. 'Twas in me an innocent act of blood, but tyranny in that black monster. 'Tis not much ill. Better my hand than a worse arm should spill thy guiltless life. What, art thou going yet? Thy warm blood cools, my sun begins to set. Nature shrinks backward to her former forms. Our souls climb stars, whilst these descend to worms. See, tyrant, from thy further strokes we fly. Heaven, do thy will. I will not, cursing, die.
Julianus dies.
So, now we live beholding unto none. Upon this stair we do ascend our throne. Give us our title.
All together now.
Long
Long
live
live
If Mumen, King of Spain.
of Spain.
Your silence it confirms. Take hence their bodies, give them to Christians, and let them bestow what ceremonious funerals they please. We must pursue the flying Roderick. All must be ours. We'll have no kingdom sharer. Let chroniclers write, here we begin our reign, the first of Moors, that heir was king of Spain.
And thus ends the play. And Roderick's not dead. How is Roderick one of the few survivors of this story? So Jacinta is used as a human shield at the end of the play. Just when you thought it couldn't get more It did. It added that extra layer. Mark, and then Rachel.
I'm relatively ignorant of the history of Spain. Is Roderick's escape, mirroring some actual historical king's escape in a situation like this? I don't know. Just wondering.
I genuinely don't know. Maybe, but I don't know how this particular area of history actually functioned, and I suspect that the early modern understanding of it was probably pretty thin. But I could be wrong on all of those fronts. But yes, maybe it was vaguely, but I suspect not. Rachel.
No, I was just gonna say, maybe this was sort of like the Battle of Alcazar, because wasn't there like one that was like, wasn't it like didn't somebody write a prequel or a sequel to the Battle of Alcazar, one of those? And there's just a part where it's like somebody's weirdly running around before whatever, and then they have to go chase him, or like during one of the similar plays. I don't know.
There are two plays that feature Battle of Alcazar. I cannot remember, but specifically that it might be something that's in the Stukely play, because that one sort of is a prequel in the sense that it only touches on Alcazar at the very, very end of the text. So yeah, maybe something along those lines. Sarah.
I actually think this is quite clever, the way it lures you into thinking that this is all about the Spaniards. They're the protagonists, and the Moors are just a bit of plot structure. And then it turns out it is in fact a play about the Moorish conquest.
Yeah,
I mean, still really, really racist, obviously. But, it does kind of overturn some of your expectations.
Yeah, I mean it's taking its cue from from Tamburlaine and from other a bit of Alcazar as well, plays that have come before it in this expectation of the kind of violence that we're going to throw in here, the way it's racialized as well. It's feeding off this text. We've been talking about this mostly in the chat. This text is feeding off an awful lot of other texts. This is theatre that is eating itself, especially in the sense of the way it's playing with different modes. I mean, as a play, to actually get an idea of what the theatre-going public were getting in the 1620s. I think this is actually quite a very useful text to look at if you want to see all of the problems that a modern audience would have with this in a play that isn't badly written. I mean, there are some very weird elements to this play, but he's structured a play that, broadly speaking, makes sense. It has lots of different elements that will entertain an early modern audience, lots of dog whistles that it can put in place as well. It's doing a lot of things that I think is actually more representative of the theatre of the time than actually a lot of the plays that, say, from the 1620s we look at. Which are more focused in a very specific way, and are doing slightly less of the wider theatrical enterprise. As you can tell, I'm drifting in the direction of this is a text we can use educationally, rather than as a fully realized production. And yet, there's part of me wondering, can we do something with the Antonio plotline? Can we do something with that? It's harder now the way it resolves, because that final scene is full of stuff that isn't really helpful. But it was almost like it had a totally separate track, almost, from the rest of the play. And I was going, okay, this is actually quite an interesting situation. It's problematic. It's got lots of issues with it. But it is actually quite interesting as a storyline, and more easy to deal with. It just doesn't conclude. I'd have her kill him at the end, actually. Just he agrees to visit her, she kills him, and that's our little mini playlet. 1 hour, 1 actor. That might be a survivor. I can see that. But pitches for a wider, more expansive version of the play. We're into final thoughts in a minute. Mark.
I was just going to follow up on that. One of the things I found interesting about that little final exchange with the love triangle was Dionisia talking about to Margaretta right after Antonio has died. Shall we marry one another now and beget chimeras? I do not think that ever any one husband dares venture on us both at once again. I don't know if there is some kind of already established part of the mythology of chimeras that like two women can create one together. I was like looking at the chimera entry on Wikipedia and I wasn't finding anything along those lines. But yeah, it just made me curious.
When a mummy chimera and a daddy chimera love each other very much. No, I don't know how they come out. Lynn.
I think that her metaphor is more generally when two people of the same sex mate, the result is a monster. So I think it's just the chimera as sort of generic for monster. Or something.
Sarah.
Still, we're so close, aren't we, to an alternative ending in which the two women run off together?
Yeah, I mean,
yes. Rachael
I was hoping for one of those endings earlier on in yesterday's reading. I was hoping for Dionisia and Jacinta to meet and live happily ever after.
In fan fiction, they didn't really die at the end. They recover. And doing it off team, it can be done. It can totally be done.
I think if we're working on a different version where it's Antonio gets strangled at the end, and we've got some of this material from the end of the play. It's maybe both of them work together and strangle him rather than this problematic servant. It's just the two women get together and kill him, and I actually know that feels really, really strong to me. I like that. Okay, we've got our production. Lynn.
Many decades ago, I went to someone's senior recital and she played a song she had written about the middleman. I got a man in the middle, a middleman. He's got another girl, basically. And she said, and the song goes on something about like, I know I like her. She's got really good taste. And it ends with, maybe we should get together and eliminate the middleman. And so that's what that would be a great play. It's like, so they get together and eliminate the middleman.
Irene.
Yeah, I was a little puzzled by Dionisia's death and her desire to kill herself because there was no passion about it. I mean, Margaretta, why? I mean, was she convincing in the least? Oh well, they're dead. I might as well kill myself. It's nothing else. Might as well be now rather than later.
It's the end of the play. That's sort of what's expected. It would be socially awkward not to kill myself.
It's madness. I mean, there's no build up. It's just like a joke. I might kill myself.
Yeah, everything's a joke with her. That's her character.
But still, yeah.
Rachael.
Except when we first, and I agree with Irene, because when we first encountered Dionisia, she's a warrior on the battlefield, right? And so this romantic tragic ending, it doesn't really make sense from where she started.
Okay. Rachael.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't here for the first half, but just hearing that, it makes it feel like some of these or maybe all of them, because none of them seem to survive in the end, that they just really didn't know what to do with them in this history play, because it seems like none of the women make it to the end, and like the ones that do, they just, I don't know, maybe it's just meant to be one of those bloody ones where at the end you're having the body count on stage or just somebody dragging them off, because you do still have, I guess, those two dead clowns and the one dead guy and then the other dead guy and then all the women. But like, was it Fydella? Was it like Fydella? Like, I feel like there was just, she ended in that one scene and you never saw really what happened to her after that. Maybe that's my misunderstanding.
She was told to run away to avoid being caught up in a murder charge.
And maybe they were just really good at dying. Maybe that was just their thing. Those performers, they knew they could do a really good death, and they put it in. There's something very rushed about the way Antonio's plotline ends. It's like a lot of other stuff is going on, and they kind of cram it in. and well, we've got this gap between, we've got to gouge a couple of eyes out and chop out a tongue. We need a scene that's suitably long in between, but not too long, to keep that action moving on. So maybe there's just a logistical framework for that. Can, outside of a very strictly educational remit of a performance of this, which, you know, is just about possible, can anyone see other routes through this text or other bits that they might want to extract? I'm quite interested in extracting the clown. Jaques, again, I'm always interested in extracting the clown to see what can be done with that kind of material. You know, can some of it still function today? But any other thoughts about, you know, what can be done with this? I'm sort of going to go for who waves at me rather than going around the room formally for this one. I'll go to Rachael, then to Erin.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't know, the clown, like, yeah, I was just gonna say the clown bit, that it took me the first scene with Jaques in it to I guess warm up to him, but like once you get into the speed of it, and I think if there's maybe a second look, or, you know, like a, what do you call it, like you know, just looking at the scene or something, or, you know, just a little bit of April Fool's like clown bit compilation, you know, like maybe you could find something like I forget what it was called, but it was one of those farce ones that we did, that they were just running around in the forest the whole time, and you know, it was just something weird, just one of those weird ones like that I don't know. I don't even know if they were like in the forest this time, but just that they were running off with this, like, oh yeah, let's just go hang ourselves. That you just have these odd little clown bits that maybe you could put together for like April Fools or something, or
yeah, and especially as it does feel like they're now going to walk off and wait for Godot somewhere. It's the way that scene ended. Erin.
Yeah, I think if you imposed a style on it, you could, that wasn't the original style, you could find kind of a reference. There's something about this which a lot of the problematic stuff might become commentary if you were to try and do it like a 70s exploitation film, or do it in something where you really like allow it to have its flaws as flaws, and then play up kind of basically an entire cast of characters who are all in one way or another morally corrupt, and all, you know, none of them are the hero of the story. They're all gonna die. They're all gonna be taken out later. But I think you would have to do that. And if you were going to try and perform it for a modern audience, you would have to put it in some kind of context like that where all of its problematic areas just get to stand.
Yes, it would be. It's. I mean, there are many places where you could sort of slightly fudge the edges and slightly take the edge off. So there's lots of lines of dialogue I just happily take out, but I don't think you can take away on the fact that the schema of what the play is doing is deliberately leaning into a whole series of stereotypes and tropes and ideas that, you know, that are plainly there, and you can't really hide them. And so, yeah, in the sense, if you are going to do anything with it, you kind of have to acknowledge it and go straight in at it and say, look, this is what it's doing. How do we unpack it? And that's a difficult thing to be doing. In a live show, especially in terms of also finding cast who'd be willing to do it. I think that there might be that other issue as well. Lynn.
Yeah, kind of related to that, the weird idea I had about producing it, and I wouldn't go any further than like a staged reading, because this is really just sort of a thought experiment. What if you race reversed it and made this like about the Reconquista instead of about the conquest of Iberia? So the established power structure is Islamic, is Moorish. So the play starts out seeming to say, oh, look how lustful and horrible these people are, and then it turns out the white people who play Muly Muhammad's role are even worse. I mean, just to sort of see how people would respond to that. But yeah, I mean, like you say, dramaturgically, it's sound. It's just like like the racism sinks it.
But I mean, and also, you know, the way that the sexual violence is dealt with as well, and what that's doing in terms of something that's in theory about you know, entertainment. And say to a degree also we don't quite have the right group of people to be discussing what to do with a text like this as well, in the sense that, you know, we could do with a wider and more diverse lineup of readers to actually ask some of these questions and see where those things go. Any additional thoughts anyone wants to throw in to see what comes out of it before I close this session? Right. Well, all's lost by lust. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it probably was, wasn't it? So I just had to think for a second there. Actually, just yes, no, that was well, power and abuse of power, and all sorts of things. Not a terribly pleasant play, but an instructive one. And every so often we do hit ones like this, and there will be more. But there will also be more fun plays. There usually are. And if you're interested in unpacking more fun plays, or unpacking and contributing to this kind of discussion about what this kind of play does today, you can always join us online for readings of this ilk, where we try to understand what plays are doing and why they're doing it, and also asking the question about what we might try and do with it today. It's not always an easy question, but it's the question we have to ask. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Eats reversions of Cox.